I also would like to maybe break a protocol here, Mayor, and ask for a little indulgence, because many of the individuals in this room and many of the emails we received have been around the vote on the municipal complex. And I would, if I have the indulgence, I would like to ask Alex, I'd like to ask Alex, as I understand, we have been discussing an advisory vote for the municipal project. We asked you to do some kind of, if you've done any research or if you've done any education on an advisory vote like this that's being asked. May I ask, can we ask that question now? So because there are individuals in this room that are asking, and I really would like them to hear his voice.
To the extent we're correcting these specific points of disinformation that are being put out there, and I commend you for that. I commend you for that, President Gallagher. Thank you. That's important. The truth is important. I'm going to allow this.
Well, I just want to know, I just want to know what we've learned. I don't know anything other than what I know, what I've read myself, what I've researched myself. Have we heard anything from the Secretary of State? Have we heard anything from the Board of Election in Johnson County? What are you able to share with us, anything that can enlighten this council in this room and anybody watching tonight on this subject? Please.
Yeah, I'll try to give we'll call it maybe a precursor if there's need for a future staff report to go in deeper dive on some of these things, but I'm happy to share some basic information. Several months ago, there was a question about, how could this work? How are these different options? A particular council member even came to me and kind of said if I wanted to explore some of these particular avenues, which do tie to other financing and funding mechanisms to put things to a vote. I've sent a few emails out to this council related to special elections, or not just special elections, related to advisory elections, and effectively there's voting items based on state statute that either authorize this council or other similar governing bodies to take something to a vote, or that authorize the public to take something to a vote, right? So it's going to be one or the other has to have an authority for that vote. Any sort of public vote that doesn't have a specific authority for it is considered an advisory election, right? It's non-binding. It's not something where, if the public votes 51%, 100%, 0%, whatever it is, that doesn't actually do anything in terms of binding the government on, or the governing body. So the governing body can be authorized to do many different things, and it doesn't really submit those questions to voters unless there's a specific statutory method for it. Advisory elections under Kansas law start gray and end even murkier in terms of what is allowed on that. So there's some different instruction, both from the Secretary of State, from Attorney General opinions, that talk about how there's no way for a governing body, even if there was an advisory election, to force a county election officer to conduct the election. Meaning that if there was the desire from the governing body, if we want to put up an advisory election, and I can still talk a little more detail about from a legal perspective as I see it for the city concerns there, but even if it did happen, in terms of you can't force, even if you wanted to pay all the costs of the world, you can't force a county election officer to do it. To your point and question about what we've heard maybe from the Secretary of State, I have not reached out to them directly. I have not spoken to them directly. I have spoken to Fred Sherman a couple of different times during my time here, and I've had seen some things that he has said related to advisory elections specifically, where he even was speaking to the Secretary of State, which is effectively his boss, right? And if he or the Secretary of State is offended by my simplification of that relationship, you'll forgive me, but county election officers are basically being told by the Secretary of State, don't host advisory elections. Sorry, I've got some general notes on this. You could have given me a little bit more of a heads up. No, I'm just kidding, you're fine. But the direction from the staff at the Secretary of State's office to Fred Sherman, the county election officer, is that if there's an interest in doing some form of a survey, it's something that could happen through means other than putting it on a ballot, right? They're not necessarily trying to say that you can't reach out and get a pulse from citizenship, or the citizenry. But what you shouldn't be doing is an advisory election. They won't hold one. It's not a push come to shove. We haven't tried to go pursue legal action to force it. But my general understanding, and if other staff member have heard otherwise, feel free to correct me on this, is that Fred Sherman is effectively saying, I'm not required to do so by law. There's not necessarily a basis for it. The things I'm doing have to be empowered by statute. And
If I could,
Yeah,
Okay.
Wes,
Sorry,
you
go
want
ahead.
to
Yeah.
chime in? Go ahead.
I think one of the most challenging things about taxes is that it's difficult to understand because there's sales tax. And if we were to increase a sales tax, like the community center was going for a vote, it is required for the public to vote on a sales tax increase. Conversely, if the city is borrowing funds through general obligation bonds and talking with Fred Sherman, and very specifically, there is no mechanism for the community to vote on a general obligation bond, even if the council wanted them to.
Thank you, Wes.
Hang on,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ms. Sharp, you're saying no to me, but
No,
I-
Terry had his hand up next. If Ms. Sharp wants to
Okay.
speak, I'll give her the floor. But did you have anything else, Wes?
I was going to say, the information we received is available to the council should they want it. We just got it Friday, that they would not, it's a hard no, hold an election for the city of Prairie Village.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just have one
All right, hang-
clarification on my answer.